Hello and welcome back to the Little Scale Cars YouTube channel. Today in the review box we have something a little bit interesting. We have the MiniGT Lotus 78 in our presentation colors. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this interesting and unique release from MiniGT and see if it is worth adding to your collection. Let's go ahead and get started with our casting. So, taking just a quick look at our proportions, we'll notice that it is, on the whole, pretty good. Everything is about as you would seem. We'll go ahead and put the real-life car up in the top right corner, and that's where we're going to start to notice a few things that I find a little curious. So you'll notice that these side pods are a little bit different, and the wing is a little bit different, as well as this like engine cover intake-ish system is a little bit different as well. Now, the thing about Formula One is that they do change the cars throughout the season. They kind of adapt and evolve and change specs for each track. Especially back in the day, there was unique specs for particular tracks. So it is entirely possible that this is just a setup for a track that I can't find pictures of online. Either that, or since this is considered the presentation model, it could have been like this is just what they unveiled at early on and then never actually used these exact side pods or anything at tracks like that. Not 100% sure, but yeah, there are a few differences. But for the casting that we do get all this done in diecast. I believe the wing is plastic, and then this engine cover here is also plastic. All of this done in diecast, casted in details, looks phenomenal. If you look down here, you'll see these little bits here are done. They are actually a piece of the base, so they kind of come up through this section here. As you can see, the whole thing is very small for a MiniGT, but it just kind of integrates very nicely the underside there that would help suck the car down to the track. So yeah, just a very interesting take on the 78. So for our paint and deco, we do have the classic John Player Special that is iconic with Lotus, and especially this kind of era of Lotus. And this one, being the number 5, is Mario Andretti's, which I think it was the perfect choice for the number 1, for the first release, I should say. Again, this one is labeled as the presentation colors, so it's more or less like what they would have displayed before the season or anything like that, which could again explain kind of the difference of side pods and stuff like that. Not really a huge deal. It's definitely still a Lotus 78. But the big thing I would notice is that this 5 seems a little bit too far forward. It generally sits like more in this area, with the Union Jack sitting where the 5 is, kind of on pictures that I can find at least. But again, this could be how it was presented. I'm just not 100% sure. Moving into our details, let's go ahead and get started. Right up front, you'll notice that there's really not a whole lot going on because it is a pretty simple car in general. But this little venti thingy that was a part of the 78's design is there. It's detailed in quite nicely. I think it's a piece of this base. Not positive about that though. Yeah. So moving in, you can see there is quite a good look of the suspension and steering components up front here. Flip it over, you'll get another look there. Nothing crazy, nothing wild about what you would see from any other open wheel diecast in about 1/64th scale. So moving on down here, we will get to our engine, which is very, very nice in there. You can see it does even have Ford logos on it, since back in this time, Lotus would have been using Ford engines. And it does have that on both sides there. As we look in over on this thing here, we have even more kind of suspension components for the rear section here, and just overall looks really nice. Again, you can even see a lot of it from underneath the car there, shining down, looks amazing. I will say the kind of wing supports, from all the pictures that I can find, there's never an example where they're solid. They usually have kind of the typical wing support holes kind of drilled in, the triangles or squares or however color or whatever shape you want. So that's a little bit interesting to note as well. I'm not sure if they did that for keeping it less fragile, or if, again, it was presented as that with the presentation version of the car. For our roll test, this is a Mini GT, and like most Mini GTs, it rolls, and it rolls very smoothly. I did go ahead and put this one on a scale earlier as well, and it came out to 20.6 grams, so it does have some decent heft to it as well. So moving into our pros and cons. For our pros, first and foremost, this is one of two brand new, like, classic F1 racers from Mini GT. So it seems like it's something that, as long as these do well, which they have as far as I can tell, is something they're going to be able to continue, which I think is very nice, because there are quite a few classic Lotus race cars that I would absolutely love to get in my 1/64th collection. So it just represents a good first outing on a hopefully new line. The other massive pro for this one is at the $12 price point, you are just getting about as much detail as you can for relatively simple, from the exterior look. The details packed into this rear section here make it absolutely worth every single penny. And moving into our cons, we really only have one, and like I said, this could be more based off of my ignorance of the car. I wasn't alive when this thing was racing on tracks. I just think that perhaps the body style is not perhaps the most iconic or most recognizable version. Like I said, I can't even find a version of this car on Google Images where this is quite so flat on the side pod. Most of them have like a little lip or a little raised section more towards the rear wheels here. But again, that could just be my ignorance, but I just feel like if I can't find a picture of it on Google Images, is this the most iconic? Is this the most recognizable version of the Lotus 78 that they could have gone with? I don't know. And for some quick size comparisons, here we have it with a few other open wheel cars from its time period, with the McLaren M16 CD Offenhauser from Johnny Lightning, and the Tyrrell P34 from Hot Wheels. And here we have it with a few other Lotus models, with the Lotus Avaya from Hot Wheels and the Lotus Exige RGT from Tomica. Alrighty, so that brings us to my overall thoughts and my final score, which is going to be a 9.5 out of 10. So I think with what we get, it's absolutely fantastic. The detail level, the paint job, the deco, everything checks out super nice, especially at that $12 price point. Like, there's really no topping it for the price at this scale, at least. I do wish we got a more iconic setup, maybe for the car, just the body panels, the wing, all that. But again, that is quite possibly just my ignorance speaking for not being crazy familiar with the Formula One cars of this time. But again, for what we get at the price point, I think this is something that every single F1 fan, or anyone who's just into racing in general, I think you will be really missing out if you do not get this one in your collection. And I'm really looking forward to the future of the classic F1 line from MiniGT to see what else they have in store. And that's all I have for this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like button down below. Make sure you comment and tell me what your thoughts are on this particular model. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video.